A curriculum. We just filmed for 3 days a new curriculum called Spiritual Warfare, Our Authority, which will be out in a couple of months. And so I'm in my room doing this week's 5-minute fresh starts. So I'm in Matthew chapter 11, verse 7. It says, "And as they departed, Jesus began to say to the multitude concerning John, 'What did you go into the wilderness to see? A reed shaken with the wind? But what did you go out into the wilderness to see? A man clothed in soft garment? Indeed, those who wear soft clothing are in kings' houses.'" Verse 9, "And what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I say more than a prophet." Verse 10, "For this is he in which it was said, 'Behold, I am sending my messenger before your face, who will prepare your way before you.' Assuredly, I say to you, among those born of a woman to this time, there hasn't risen a greater than John the Baptist. But he who is least in the kingdom of heaven shall be greater than he. And from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven suffers violence, and the violent take it by force." And so the Bible's talking, really, Jesus is talking to the crowd and really telling them, you don't have spiritual discernment. You look at things from the physical aspect. I mean, John, when you look at John, he was a Nazirite, so he had a certain dietary system. He never shaved or combed his hair or was groomed. You weren't to cut your hair as a Nazirite, so he was very burly and hairy. And so he wore, unlike clothing that was, sewn together, he wore sheep or camel skins. And so he wasn't somebody that you'd want to sit next to in a church. He didn't look like a successful man in the world. And so Jesus was telling them, what did you guys expect? What did you expect to see when you went out, when you walked 5 miles from Jerusalem to go see John speak? What were you looking for? What were your expectations? And basically he was saying you expected probably to see somebody that was well-groomed, somebody that looked like they had worldly success, somebody that fit your mold as someone who had worldly success. And basically Jesus was telling them, this is God's greatest man born to this point. Now, there were many great men in the Old Testament, and when you look at what he's saying here, it's really based on privilege. In fact, the whole entire chapter 11 of Matthew is based on privilege. This is where he talks about if Sodom and Gomorrah had seen the works that I did before you, they would have repented long ago. So this is a very spiritually dull group of people, and he's really telling them, when you look at God's best, when you look at God's greatest, it's not going to look like someone that's very successful in the world. And Jesus wasn't making fun of them, but it was a different sort of point of view that they had to learn, was that you can't gauge God's greatest and God's best by human standards, by worldly standards, because God works in people. John, for instance, was completely void of the world. He had no worldly assets. He didn't love the world or the things in the world. John was just basically a guy that was completely wholeheartedly driven to do the things of God and to obey the things of God. He was a voice of one crying in the wilderness, which at the time it was very spiritually dark. The church of that day actually crucified Jesus. I mean, when you think about it, that's how much darkness there was in the world at that time. Well, that's our broadcast for today. Thank you for watching. Please share, follow, and like this message if you're on social media. Please join us as a partner. You can give as little as $10 a month. We're praying for 400 $25 a month or more donors. I mean, this curriculum I just shot is tens of thousands of dollars, and we give it away for free. I mean, there'll be a workbook and videos. We've done 3 now in the last 5 months, and we give them away for free. I mean, we don't want to put any barriers in the way of those seeking truth in God's word. And so anyway, I'm sorry for the conditions I'm in